One very good morning. My name is Leena Menon. I work as a radio jockey. That's my passion and my profession. And today I'm extremely happy to stand in front of you guys to share a bit of my life. And especially in this month of November is very, very important for me. 4 days from now, that is November 8th, 4 years back, that is 2014. On that day, I met my Kairos. Kairos is an ancient Greek word which means turning point, where you meet your destiny or you actually find the right opportunity. From there, your life changes forever. So my story goes like this. I have a very, very happy family. Me, my husband, and my little son. Right now, my son is 4 years old. When this story happened, he was 7 months old. And that day was a Saturday, and we were traveling to my husband's hometown. This story is not going to be that happy story, okay? But end is good. I can assure that. So we were driving. My husband was driving. I was sitting next to him, and my son is on my lap. And yeah, as every happy couple, we were talking, laughing, and it was around 5 p.m. in the evening. I suddenly looked ahead, and I saw a car speeding towards us. I didn't know what to do. I looked at my husband. The car was overtaking a bus. I saw my husband trying to stop the car. And we didn't even get time to think. The other car literally rammed into ours. I was thrown out of my seat. My head went and banged the windshield. I came back and sat on my seat. And I realized that my seatbelt is broken from the top. It's torn off. And simultaneously something else happened. My son was on my lap. I actually threw him under the dashboard, because otherwise he could have actually got crushed between me and the dashboard. People call it my presence of mind, but it was not my presence of mind. It was something else which saved us, I believe. And our car was totally crushed. I looked at my husband. I saw him unconscious, and the steering wheel was almost inside his chest. I was blank. I didn't know what to do. I saw people coming to us, running, and suddenly a highway patrolling ambulance came there, as if God has set everything ready to save us. And we were put inside the ambulance, and I saw my husband unconscious, my son crying like crazy, I'm bleeding, and suddenly I get to hear somebody else crying. Then I looked and I found another woman. I believe she was from the other car. She's looking at my face and screaming. Literally, she's shivering. Then I got to know that I kind of realized that there is something really wrong with my face, because I could feel something hanging from my face. And one eye was totally closed. And of course, blood oozing out from my head to my body and to my son. I told her, stop crying, can you? And you please tell me, do you have a phone? My mind always works. I always think about what's happening next and what's happening next. And this lady said, no, I don't have a phone. I said, do you ask the driver whether he has a phone? And she got the phone from the driver. And I could recollect just one number. That was my mom's. I believe that's my mom's number. And it was. And I gave the number to the lady, and I told her to call him. And she called my father. My father picked up the phone. And I said, my name is Leena, and just tell her or him, whoever picks up the phone, just tell them that I met with an accident and I'm being taken to some hospital. I don't know where I am. So she did so. And that was the first information which is going to somebody whom I know. And I was kind of relaxed because somebody knows. And we were taken to Vandana Medical College, Alleppey. I was put in the casualty. My husband was taken for an emergency surgery to the operation theater. My son, I don't know where he is. Somebody took him. And I'm waiting. And I kind of realized that it's a Saturday evening, second Saturday, no work. and it's almost dark. So I was actually thinking, who is going to come to me? Will there be any staff to attend me? I was tensed. Then after some time, I'm still bleeding. After some time, a doctor came and he said, you apparently have messed up your face. So much of, tears and glass pieces, and it's messed up. So we need to do something right now. I said, do something. And he said, your artery is cut. So I said, I'm going to die. Please save me. And then he said, we need to suture your wounds. I said, do it. Then he said one thing. We can't give you anesthesia. Because you just hit your head in a, strong piece of glass. So we can't give you anesthesia because there's a chance for you to go into coma. So we can't take the responsibility. I said, okay, fine, then do it. I'm ready to bear the pain anyway. So it was a live session of suturing and pain, and after that I was pretty tired. And what happened was, these people cut my dress off. They removed it totally because it was soaked in blood. So they took off my clothes and they covered me with a piece of cloth, which we call mundu in Kerala. Guys wear it as dhoti. So that is the only thing which is covering my body. So I was like disappointed, sad. My happy family, my happiness ended in one single second. I was thinking, what next? What will happen to my husband? Will he survive? And my son, what happened to him? And I'm lying down there in the casualty. And I was praying to God, God, please, let me fall unconscious. So at least this agony part, I can escape from that. So I was praying for it and I closed my eyes and I was trying to relax. Suddenly, I felt somebody standing very close to me. We can sense people, no? When they come very close to us, we can sense them. Then I kind of realized that there is somebody standing very next to me. And my womanhood gave me an alert. Wake up. Something is going wrong. I tried to open my eye. One eye is totally closed and clogged and clotted, stitched. The other eye was totally blurred because blood was getting inside, so the other eye was blurred. I couldn't see anything. But I opened my eye and I tried to look. And then I realized this is not just one man. There were almost 8 men standing right next to me and talking about me. Panic attack. We get to hear a lot of stories about what happens to, a woman who is totally helpless and in such a condition, abandoned. I thought I'm a pretty strong female. I can beat anyone, if he tries to mess with me. But that moment I realized that I'm good for nothing. I'm totally helpless. I don't know what to do. I started praying, oh God, no. Then I tried to stretch my neck and all and try to look at those people, who they are, just to identify. Then this guy who was standing next to me came very close to my ears and he whispered, sister, don't worry. I know that you're scared and I'm your brother. Trust me, I'll take care of you. I said, no, I won't. Because I don't trust you. I don't trust anyone right now. I'm alone. And this guy kind of understood. And after some time, they started taking my earrings off, my chain off, my ring off. Then I said, okay, God, my gold is gone for good. It's gone. But still I was comfortable because they're not touching me. Then after some time, they started pulling my stretcher. I was like, what? Where are you taking me to? And this guy said, we need to take a CT scan. So we are taking you. Now, no. He said, why? I said, I'm not wearing anything. I had to tell him because they have to lift me to change my beds. So I said, I'm worried, I'm scared. He said, we know that you're not wearing anything. Don't worry, we'll take care of you. But I didn't believe him. I didn't trust him. After some time, we reached the CT scan room and I was lying on a piece of cloth and I was covered with another piece of cloth. And these guys, they held on to those pieces of sheets and they lifted me from the bed and they put me into the CT scan bed. That was so cool. They didn't touch me. And I was not exposed, not even a bit. Because I'm sensing it. I'm trying to sense every single, touch and every single thing that they're doing. And I was so happy and I was impressed. Wow, good job. Then I was taken out and I heard my sister and my mom talking. I heard their voices and I was like, okay, relieved, finally. And then I was shifted to another hospital for further surgeries. Then actually I realized the depth of my problem. I mean, I had lost a big piece of my scalp and my forehead, and my right eyelid was not there. Eyebrow was gone, and my lip, the left side of it was split into 3 pieces, and everything is gone. So the doctor said, you're not going to get your face back. I think you're a pretty bold female. And, they brought me from another hospital, so they don't want to take a chance. So they said, we'll do the plastic surgery part, but you're not sure. Your face is totally ruined. I said, okay, fine. And I got my surgery done. My face was totally messed up. Day by day, it started growing monstrous, you can say. Always water and blood oozing out from my body, my face, my neck is swollen, miserably ruined. My parents, everybody were very, very, very upset about this. They were like, oh my God, girl lost her face, now what? But I was thinking about these men. And I asked my Amma, Mom, who were those men who took care of me in the hospital? Amma said, they're all local boys who work for daily wages. And she said, they're taking care of your husband and their parents. It's like, wow. And it's like somebody is an auto driver, somebody is a truck driver, somebody works in a shop. They work for daily wages. And this particular area is an accident-prone area. Accidents are pretty frequent there. Whenever they get to know that somebody, unknown people, they met with some kind of an accident, if they get to hear about something like that, they leave their money, they leave their job, they leave everything and rush to the hospital just to take care of these people, just to assist these people. And not only that, these people, if you find an animal hit by a vehicle, what will you see? You'll say, oh, poor thing. Car hit it. Poor thing. Who did it? But these people, again, they'll leave all their money, daily wages, everything, and they'll go and take care of this animal, take it to the veterinary hospital, and make sure that this is being taken care of. I was taken aback. I was amazed. I was like, oh my God, so selfless. I didn't believe it. And once I got cured, I got out of my bed, I wanted to meet this person. The leader's name is Shukur. Shukur is the guy who was standing right next to me and called me sister. And I went and met him. And I said, Shukur, can I please take you on air with me? I want the world to know about you. People like you. He said, no, I'm scared. I said, what? Then can I write an article about you in some newspaper because I have so many friends? He said, no, I don't want publicity. I said, why? He said, we don't do this for publicity. We do it for God's blessings. He said, okay, fine. I didn't force him any further. I tried to give him some money. He didn't take any money. This morning, before coming to this place, I called him up and I said, I'm going to talk about you on a platform where you deserve the most. And I would like to tell you one thing. Right now, I'm taking a moment to tell you that we post everything on social media, where we go eat, we chill with friends, and we have fun, we watch movies. But whenever you do something for the society or for somebody else or a needy person, please post it on social media. It's much needed. The world is deprived of inspiration. So just one post of yours can make somebody think. That's a big deal, don't you think so? So please do it. And coming back to my story, I tried my best to bring him into limelight, but he didn't allow. Then I went home and started thinking. My face is still messed up, okay? And I started thinking, what did I do? Did I do something for somebody? My neighbor, my mom, my dad, anybody? Nothing. I never made any compromises. I didn't sacrifice anything yet. And my life is flowing pretty well, comfortably. I'm comfortable, my people are happy. As I told you, we have a happy family. Then I decided to change. People ask me, who's my inspiration? This guy is my inspiration. Shukur is my inspiration because I want to be like him. A single thing that I can do selflessly for somebody else makes a big difference. And I started changing myself. After that, people started liking me. People started loving me. People started saying, God bless you, Neena. I started feeling what it means, and the feeling is totally different, right? I loved it, and I started loving it. Now whatever little I do for others is because of this guy, Shukur. And after that, I got a tattoo done. And it says, I'm the soul born twice in a body. Whenever I stretch my hands to shake hands with someone, this reminds me of my second chance to live and to meet people and love them. I don't want to spread hatred, I just want to spread love. And if I point my hands at someone and talking, again my eyes fall on that tattoo. And it says, Neena, this is the second chance. Do you really want to point your fingers at someone? Or just stretch your hand and help them? Tattoo decides. So, slowly my face came back. Still, if you come closer, you can see all those scars on my face. But I take these scars as a medal, a reward, or an award for my survival, and my comeback, and my kairos. I told you, kairos is an ancient Greek word which means turning point. My life changed forever. And that was the turning point of my life. And it's not your face, it's what's inside that makes you. Thank you so much.